What happens when a doctor helped an Apache girl walk again? Next morning, 500 riders blocked every road out of his land. Witness this unbelievable true inspired story right here on Whisper of the Past. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from. Let's get started. The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on Doctor Samuel Crawford's small medical clinic in 1887. He had moved to this remote frontier town 3 years ago, leaving behind a comfortable practice in Boston to serve those who needed him most. The settlers respected him, but the Apache tribes who lived in the surrounding territories kept their distance. Decades of broken treaties and bloodshed had built walls of distrust that seemed impossible to break. On that sweltering afternoon in late August, Samuel was closing his clinic when he heard frantic pounding on his door. He opened it to find a young Apache man, barely 18, holding a girl of about 12 in his arms. She was unconscious, her leg twisted at an unnatural angle. Behind them stood 3 more Apache warriors, their faces stern and suspicious, hands resting on their weapons. The young man spoke in broken English. His sister had fallen from a cliff while gathering herbs with their mother. They had traveled for 2 days to reach the town, knowing that the Apache medicine man had tried everything but couldn't help her. The girl's name was Kiona, which meant Brown Hills, and she was the daughter of Chief Nitch, a respected leader who had reluctantly agreed to this desperate journey. Samuel didn't hesitate. He gestured for them to bring her inside, ignoring the gasps from townspeople who had gathered outside. In that era, treating an Apache could be seen as treason by some settlers. But Samuel had taken an oath, and to him, a patient was a patient regardless of who they were or where they came from. As he examined Kiona, his heart sank. Her leg was badly broken in multiple places, and infection had already begun to set in. Without proper treatment, she would likely lose the leg, if not her life. He knew the surgery would be complicated and dangerous, requiring him to work through the night. He looked at the young man and said he would do everything in his power to help her walk again. For the next 14 hours, Samuel worked tirelessly. He carefully reset the broken bones, cleaned the wounds, and used every bit of his medical knowledge to save the leg. The Apache men waited outside his clinic, silent as statues, while curious and concerned townspeople whispered among themselves. Some called Samuel a fool, others a traitor, but a few admired his courage and commitment to his calling. As dawn broke, Kiona opened her eyes. The fever had broken, and though she was weak, she was alive. Samuel had splinted her leg carefully and knew that with proper care and time, she would indeed walk again. When he delivered this news to her brother, the young warrior's eyes filled with tears. He grasped Samuel's hand in gratitude, a gesture that transcended language and cultural barriers. The Apache men carefully prepared to transport Kiona back to their camp. Samuel gave them detailed instructions on her care, along with medicine and supplies. He asked them to return in 2 weeks so he could check on her progress. The young warrior promised they would return, and Samuel watched as they disappeared into the vast desert landscape. 2 weeks passed, and true to their word, the Apache returned. Kiona was healing remarkably well. Samuel removed the stitches and adjusted her splint, encouraged by her progress. Over the following months, they made several more visits. Each time, Kiona grew stronger. By the 5th month, she took her first tentative steps. By the 7th month, she was walking almost normally, with just a slight limp that Samuel assured her would fade with time. Samuel thought this beautiful chapter had closed when Kiona and her family stopped visiting. He had helped a child walk again, and that was reward enough. He continued his work in the frontier town, treating cowboys, settlers, and the occasional Native American who had heard of the doctor who didn't turn anyone away. Then came that extraordinary morning in early spring, 8 months after he had first treated Kiona. Samuel woke to an eerie silence. Usually, he could hear the sounds of the town waking up, but today there was nothing. He walked to his window and froze in absolute disbelief. Blocking every single road leading out of his property were Apache riders. Not just a few, but hundreds of them. Samuel later learned there were over 500 warriors on horseback, sitting perfectly still, forming an impenetrable barrier around his land. His heart raced with fear. Had he somehow offended them? Was this retribution for some unknown transgression? The townspeople were terrified. The sheriff and his deputies had barricaded themselves in the jailhouse. Settlers were loading their guns, preparing for what they assumed would be a massacre. The tension in the air was suffocating. Samuel knew he had to face whatever was coming. He stepped out onto his porch, his hands raised to show he was unarmed. From the mass of riders, Chief Nige himself rode forward, with Kiona sitting proudly on her own horse beside him. She was smiling, sitting tall and strong. The chief dismounted and walked toward Samuel with dignified purpose. The doctor held his breath, unsure of what would happen next. What Chief Nige did next would become legend in that territory for generations to come. He reached into his leather pouch and pulled out a beautifully crafted necklace made of turquoise, silver, and sacred stones. He placed it around Samuel's neck, then spoke in Apache while Kiona's brother translated. The chief explained that these 500 riders were here not as a threat but as an honor guard. In Apache tradition, when someone saves the life of a chief's child and restores what was thought to be lost, that person becomes family. The riders had come to demonstrate to the entire territory that Samuel Crawford was now under the protection of their tribe. Anyone who threatened him would answer to all of them. The chief continued, saying that his daughter now ran and played like other children because of Samuel's skill and courage. He had crossed cultural divides when others built walls. He had seen a child in need rather than an enemy. For this, he had earned not just gratitude but eternal brotherhood. Samuel stood speechless as tears rolled down his weathered face. The townspeople emerged from their homes, witnessing this unprecedented display of honor and respect. The riders remained in position for 3 hours, ensuring that everyone in the territory saw and understood the message. Then, as silently as they had come, they departed. From that day forward, Samuel Crawford became known as the bridge between two worlds. His story reminds us that compassion knows no boundaries, and that simple acts of human kindness can transform fear into friendship and division into unity. If this story moved you, please like this video and subscribe to Whisper of the Past for more incredible tales from history. Share where you're watching from in the comments below.